I woke up at 11 p.m. to a phone alert. Critical battery failure. Stepped outside in my boxers. Phoenix, November, cold enough to see my breath. And there she was. Vivienne Cutler, my HOA president, sitting in her white Tesla in my driveway. Her charge cable plugged into my solar inverter, draining 3 months of stored power like a tick on a dog. The smell hit first. Sharp electrical burn, like melting plastic. Then the sound, a tortured whine from my $7,000 battery system dying in real time. $340 of my electricity vanishing into her luxury SUV.
Unplug that, now.
It's community property. What are you going to do
Get away
about
from the
it?
car.
Turns out, a lot. And that question, that smug, entitled question, is going to cost her more than she ever imagined. What would you do if your HOA president stole your electricity? Drop your state below. I need to know where the worst Karens live. Let me rewind 3 weeks. My name's Garrett Paulson. I'm 54, retired electrical engineer from Arizona Public Service. And 18 months ago, I lost my wife Miriam to ovarian cancer. Our daughter Shayna's up at CU Boulder studying environmental science, Miriam's dream for her. After the funeral, after the medical bills, after the suffocating quiet of an empty house, I threw myself into the one project Miriam and I had planned together, going fully solar. I'm talking 12 rooftop panels, an N-phase battery system that could run my house for 3 days off-grid, and enough backup power to help elderly neighbors when the grid went down, which, in Phoenix summers, happens more than you'd think. I became the neighborhood fix-it guy, helped Morton next door rewire his garage, showed Candace across the street how to reset her breaker panel. Small stuff. It kept me busy, kept me from thinking about the empty side of the bed. The house is modest, 1,800 square feet, beige stucco ranch and sagebrush estates, a planned community 40 minutes outside Phoenix, 220 homes, mostly retirees, with an HOA that was supposed to handle pool maintenance and landscaping. Emphasis on supposed to. Because 3 years ago, Vivienne Cutler took over as HOA president. Vivienne's 47, married to an orthopedic surgeon, drives a white Tesla Model X with a vanity plate that reads COMPLY1. Yeah, she wears tailored blazers in 110-degree heat, oversized sunglasses that cost more than my monthly electric bill, and carries a clipboard like it's a weapon. She's been president for 3 terms, runs unopposed because anyone who tries to challenge her gets buried in violation notices until they give up. Her specialty? Weaponizing the Architectural Review Committee. Trash can visible past 7 a.m.? $50 fine. Garden gnome half an inch too tall? $100 fine. She once threatened to put a lien on Morton's house because his American flag touched his roof during a windstorm. 3 weeks before that midnight confrontation, I got my first taste of Vivienne's justice. A violation notice showed up on my door. Unapproved solar panel expansion, $2,500 architectural review fee required immediately, plus potential lien if not resolved within 30 days. I stood there staring at the cheap printer paper, still warm from her home office, smelling faintly of toner. My panels had been installed 2 years earlier, fully permitted, county approved. I had every document. I showed up at the next monthly HOA meeting with my permit folder, waited through 20 minutes of Vivienne droning about landscape compliance expectations. When I finally got the mic, I explained calmly, panels installed 2022, all paperwork in order, no violations. She cut my microphone, literally reached over and pressed the mute button on the podium. HOA covenants supersede municipal code, Mr. Paulson. The Architectural Committee has final authority. Pay the fee or face collections. I looked around the room. 30 neighbors, every single one staring at their laps. I paid a $500 good faith deposit to buy time. Went home and did what any engineer does when the system's rigged. I started looking for vulnerabilities in the code. The HOA covenants, that is. All 140 pages of dense legal language that nobody reads until they're being screwed by it. But here's what I didn't know yet, standing in that meeting room with my useless permits. Vivienne wasn't just power hungry, she was a thief. And my electrical engineering background, 26 years designing grid infrastructure, load balancing, and fault protection systems, was about to become her worst nightmare. I just needed her to make one more mistake. Turns out, I didn't have to wait long. A week after I paid that deposit, my phone woke me at 2:47 a.m. Not a call. An alert from my solar monitoring app. Abnormal discharge detected. Battery reserve at 34%. I'd gone to bed with 92% charge. In 6 hours, something had drained 58% of my stored power. That's 18 kilowatt hours, enough to run my house for 2 days. I pulled up the consumption graph. A massive spike starting at 11 p.m., steady draw until the alert fired. First thought, equipment malfunction. My inverter was 3 years old, still under warranty. I called Javier, the guy who installed my system, runs a small solar business out in Surprise, and he came out that afternoon. Javier's good people, does quality work, doesn't upsell you on stuff you don't need. He ran diagnostics for 90 minutes, checked every connection, every circuit, every sensor. His laptop showed the same weird overnight drain, but the equipment itself? Perfect. Bro, he said, squinting at his screen in my garage where the battery cabinet hummed quietly. Someone's pulling power before your meter, like physically tapped into your line. That's impossible. Who would? I'm just telling you what the data says. You got anything plugged into that outdoor outlet? He pointed to the emergency generator hookup I'd installed on the side of the house, a 240-volt outlet in a weatherproof box. I hadn't used it in months. We walked outside. The outlet cover was closed, no visible damage, but the housing felt warm to the touch, that residual heat from recent heavy use, the way a phone feels after charging. Javier unscrewed the cover. The terminals inside showed fresh scuffing. Someone had plugged something in, recently, repeatedly. You got a security camera? Javier asked. I didn't. Not yet. That night, I set my phone to alert me the second power draw exceeded normal usage. Then I waited. 11:17 p.m. Abnormal discharge. I grabbed my bathrobe and a flashlight, stepped into the November cold, Phoenix desert nights drop into the 40s, and walked around to my side yard. The motion sensor light should have clicked on. It didn't. Bulb was unscrewed, sitting on the ground. That's when I saw her. Vivian Cutler, sitting in her Tesla Model X, driver's seat reclined, scrolling her phone like she was waiting for a latte. Her charge cable snaked across my gravel driveway, 15 feet of heavy-duty cord, plugged directly into my emergency outlet. My inverter was screaming, that high-pitched whine like a drill bit hitting metal. The smell of overheated electronics hung in the cold air, sharp, acrid, the smell of insulation getting too hot. I walked up and knocked on her window. She rolled it down halfway. Didn't look surprised, didn't look guilty, just irritated that I'd interrupted her Instagram scrolling. What are you doing? I said, kept my voice level. Engineers don't yell, we document. Charging, she said, like I'd asked what color the sky was. Your system is community resource under Covenant Section 19B. That section covers shared landscaping water access, not electricity. She finally looked at me. Interpretation is the president's purview. Also, you're creating a disturbance after quiet hours. That's another $50 fine. She turned back to her phone. Unplug. Now. Or what? I didn't have an answer. Not yet. She let 30 more seconds tick by, just to prove she could, then unplugged, wound up her cable with theatrical slowness, and backed out of my driveway. Gave me a little wave as she left. I stood there in my bathrobe, holding a flashlight, watching her taillights disappear. The next morning, I drove to Best Buy and bought 2 Wise cameras, $40 each, mounted one inside a decorative birdhouse aimed at the side yard, another under the eave with a clear view of the outlet, both connected to my phone, both recording to cloud storage, both invisible unless you knew where to look. That night, 11:34 p.m., motion alert. I pulled up the live feed on my phone from my bedroom. Crystal clear night vision footage of Vivian's Tesla rolling into my side yard. She used a key to unlock my gate, the master gate key the HOA keeps for emergency access. Plugged in, settled in for what the timestamp would later show was a 6-hour charging session. But here's the thing that made my blood go cold. Night 2, reviewing footage from 1 a.m., a second vehicle pulled in behind hers, BMW i8, vanity plate, ORTHO1, Dr. Brant Cutler, her surgeon husband. He had a Y splitter adapter, plugged his car in alongside hers, both vehicles draining my battery simultaneously for 90 minutes before he left. I did the math. 2 weeks of this pattern, some nights just Vivian, some nights both of them. Conservative estimate, $340 of stolen electricity. But the real damage? Deep discharging a lithium battery pack shortens its lifespan. They weren't just stealing power, they were killing a $7,000 battery system, one unauthorized drain at a time. Here's something most people don't know about lithium battery systems. They have something called cycle life ratings. Every time you drain the battery from 100% to near zero, that's one cycle. Most residential systems are rated for 4,000 to 6,000 cycles. Force it to deep discharge every night when it's not designed for that load pattern. You're burning through cycles like a teenager burns through phone battery. After a few months of abuse, your $7,000 investment is worth half that. It's sabotage disguised as theft. I had video evidence, timestamps, consumption logs. I had them dead to rights. And that's when the idea hit me. If Vivian wanted my power so badly, if she felt that entitled to just take it, maybe I should give her exactly what she was asking for: maximum voltage. I spent the next morning compiling evidence, exported every video clip, printed consumption graphs with timestamps, created a spreadsheet showing exactly when they'd stolen power, how much, and the calculated cost. Engineers love spreadsheets. They don't lie. I drafted an email to the HOA board, professional, factual, no emotion, just attached as video evidence of President Cutler and Dr. Cutler illegally accessing my solar system. I'm requesting immediate reimbursement of $340 plus battery replacement costs, and President Cutler's resignation effective immediately. Sent it to all 5 board members. CC'd my lawyer neighbor 2 streets over, just for weight. Vivian's response came in 4 hours. Emergency board meeting tonight, 7 p.m., community center. I showed up with my laptop, ready to present evidence. The room smelled like stale coffee and chlorine from the adjacent pool. 4 board members sat at the folding table. Vivian in the center, flanked by Tammy, retired dental hygienist, sweet lady who owed Vivian for a fence height waiver. Rhonda, owns the golf cart dealership, business relationship with Vivian. And Jeffrey, retired pharmacist, smartest guy on the board, but always voted with the majority. The 5th seat, belonging to Marcus, the only board member who'd ever questioned Vivian, was empty. He'd resigned for personal reasons 2 months ago. Vivian called the meeting to order. We're here to address Mr. Paulson's allegations of improper power access. I opened my laptop. I have video. The board has reviewed your materials, Vivian cut in. That smile again. We find no evidence of theft. The outdoor outlet in question is part of your home's exterior infrastructure, which falls under shared access provisions for emergency purposes. My vehicle experienced a charging emergency. I utilized available community resources 11 times in 2 weeks? At midnight? That's not an emergency. That's a pattern of... Tammy raised her hand timidly. I move that we recognize President Cutler's interpretation of Covenant 19B regarding shared infrastructure access. Second, Rhonda said immediately. All in favor? Vivian didn't even pause. 4 in favor, 1 abstention. Jeffrey had raised his hand halfway, looking uncomfortable. Motion carries. Mr. Paulson, this matter is closed. You can't just... Furthermore, Vivian continued, sliding a paper across the table, your installation of surveillance equipment monitoring HOA common areas without board approval violates privacy expectations of HOA officials performing their duties. That's a $1,000 fine, due within 30 days. My camera was pointed at my house, my yard, my electrical system. I left before I said something I'd regret. The taste of copper in my mouth. That metallic tang you get when you're angry enough that your blood pressure spikes. Next morning, I called the Maricopa County Sheriff non-emergency line. Explained the situation. Deputy Ochoa showed up that afternoon. Young guy, maybe 30, crew cut, actually listened while I showed him the footage. Man, that's brazen, he said, watching Vivian plug in for the 4th time. But here's the thing. Legally, this is civil, not criminal. You gave the HOA a gate key. She'll claim implied consent for property access. The power theft part? Arizona law's fuzzy on solar electricity. Technically, it's not utility theft because you're not a utility company. So I have video of someone stealing from me and there's no criminal charge? Not unless she broke into your house or damaged your property. Right now, it's trespassing at best. And even that's shaky because of the gate key. You need a lawyer, man. Civil suit. I called 3 attorneys that week. The cheapest retainer was $15,000. Timeline. 18 months minimum. Outcome. We'll probably win, but HOA disputes are unpredictable. And if she countersues for harassment, this gets expensive fast. I didn't have $15,000 to gamble with. But here's what retirement from a utility company teaches you. There's always another regulatory body. Always another jurisdiction. You just have to find the right one. I dug into Arizona Administrative Code, Title 14, Public Utilities. 3 hours of reading dense legal language, cross-referencing statutes, following footnotes. And there it was, buried in Chapter 2, Article 3. AACR 14-2-2309. Unauthorized consumption of residential solar generation constitutes utility theft under state jurisdiction, equivalent to meter tampering. Solar electricity isn't some legal gray area, it's regulated. And the Arizona Corporation Commission, the state agency that oversees utilities, has enforcement authority. I filed a formal complaint, ACC case number 2024-11-1847. Attached every video, every consumption log, every piece of evidence. Filed online at 11 p.m. on a Sunday. Got an automated confirmation that the case was under review, and a case investigator would contact me within 10 business days. Then I emailed Vivian a copy. Subject line, FYI, state investigation opened. Knowledge nugget. Most people think HOAs are untouchable little kingdoms. They're not. State utility commissions have jurisdiction over anything involving electricity, even in private communities. If someone's stealing your solar power, you can bypass local authorities entirely and go straight to your state's Corporation Commission or Public Utilities Commission. Google your state utility theft complaint, and you'll find the form. It's free to file, and utilities regulators don't mess around. I figured that would make her back off. I was wrong. 2 nights later, I came home from Home Depot to find my side gate wide open. The emergency outlet's wiring had been cut. Not unplugged, cut. Bolt cutters, clean through the conduit, leaving bare copper wires sparking against the metal junction box. A note on my front door, written on HOA letterhead. Fire hazard corrected per emergency safety inspection. You're welcome. VC. The smell hit me before I even reached the outlet. That distinct burning plastic smell of electrical shorts. I killed the breaker before anything caught fire. Called an emergency electrician. After hours rate. $890 for 4 hours of work to replace the severed wiring, install a new junction box, and certify everything to code. I paid it. And I saved the cut wires, bagged them, dated them, photographed them from 6 angles. Because engineers don't get mad. We collect data. And Vivian was giving me a hell of a data set. Vivian's next move came 10 days later. A special HOA meeting notice in everyone's mailbox. Agenda item. Solar Equity Assessment Proposal. The language was bureaucratic nonsense, but the intent was clear. Any home generating more than 50% of its own power would pay an annual $3,200 infrastructure equity fee to compensate for reduced contribution to shared electrical costs. Except Sagebrush Estates doesn't have shared electrical costs. We're all on individual meters with the utility company. The HOA has nothing to do with electricity. It was targeted harassment dressed up as policy. Only 3 homes in the neighborhood had solar. Mine, the Hendersons 2 streets over, and a retired couple on the north end. 3 households. $9,600 total. Vivian was weaponizing the HOA bylaws to financially punish me for filing that ACC complaint. The vote was scheduled in 14 days. She had the board majority. It would pass. Unless I found something bigger. Arizona law requires HOAs to disclose financial records to homeowners within 10 business days of a written request. I submitted mine that afternoon. All bank statements, invoices, and financial records for the past 3 years. Vivian's response came on day 9. A cardboard box delivered to my doorstep. 800 pages, receipts in random order, bank statements mixed with grocery lists. It was compliance in the most malicious way possible. Technically legal, functionally useless. I texted Morton and Candace. Garage, Saturday, bring coffee. Morton showed up with bourbon instead. Coffee's for quitters. We spread everything across my ping pong table. 800 pages of financial chaos. Morton, 78 years old, Korean War vet, sharper than people give him credit for, started sorting by date. Candace, the librarian, created a spreadsheet. I cross-referenced invoices against bank withdrawals. 6 hours in, the pattern emerged. Bohannonscapes, LLC, a landscaping company. 18 months of invoices. Desert hardscaping enhancement, $8,400. Erosion mitigation services, $12,100. Landscape improvement project, $15,600. The descriptions were always vague. The amounts were always just under $10,000. Small enough to avoid bank reporting requirements, large enough to add up fast. Total payments to Bohannonscapes, $184,000. Who the hell is Bohannon? Morton asked, squinting at the invoice signature. Candace was already on her laptop. Public property records, cross-referencing business licenses. Trent Bohannon, owns Bohannonscapes LLC, licensed in 2019. And, oh, this is interesting. He owns 4.2 acres of undeveloped land, directly adjacent to Sagebrush Estates. She pulled up the county assessor's site, showed us the parcel map. Recent permit applications? I asked. She clicked through. Her face went still. Commercial solar farm, 600 panels, approved 3 weeks after Vivian became HOA president. The air went out of the garage. We all stared at the screen. Morton broke the silence. She's been funneling HOA money to build a solar farm while trying to fine you out of existence for having solar panels. I pulled up more records. Found Vivian's letter to the county planning department, written on official HOA letterhead, signed as president, supporting Bohannon's solar farm project. This development aligns with our community's commitment to renewable energy leadership. But I remembered the 2022 meeting minutes, back when Vivian first took office. A homeowner had proposed a community solar co-op, panels on the community center roof, shared power for common areas. Vivian had shut it down in 3 sentences. Financially irresponsible, liability concerns, motion denied. She'd blocked community solar so her family could profit from private solar, because Candace found it buried in the business registry. Trent Bohannon's registered business partner, Vivian's brother. Knowledge nugget. Embezzlement is $1 billion per year problem nationwide, and it follows predictable patterns. Look for vague invoice descriptions like landscape enhancement or consulting services. Look for payments just under $10,000. That's called structuring, designed to avoid bank reporting requirements. And always check if vendors are family members or friends of board members. Most HOA fraud isn't sophisticated. It's just brazen, because nobody's watching. We need to tell people, Candace said. Not yet, I said. If we go public now, she'll bury the evidence and lawyer up. We need more. Jeffrey, the pharmacist on the board, the one who'd abstained during that vote, texted me that night. Can we talk? Not on phone. We met at Denny's at 6 a.m. He brought his own file folder. I voted to approve those landscaping contracts, he said, stirring his coffee without drinking it. Vivian told us Bohannon was licensed and bonded, said we were getting a deal. I trusted her. He slid the folder across. His personal copies of board meeting minutes, budget approvals, financial summaries. Look at 2023. We approved $40,000 for pool resurfacing. The pool's still cracked. Where did the money go? I looked at his timeline. Payment authorized in March 2023. Check written to Aqua Solutions Contracting for $38,500. But no work order, no completion certificate, no inspection report. Let me guess, I said. You can't find Aqua Solutions in the state business registry. It doesn't exist. I checked. Dissolved in 2021. She'd paid $40,000 to a defunct company. The money went somewhere, and I was willing to bet Trent Bohannon had something to do with it. Jeffrey leaned forward. I'll vote against this solar assessment. I'll recruit Tammy. Her granddaughter just got her accounting degree. She's been asking questions about the books. But we need something concrete. Something that proves Vivian's been lying to us from the start. I told him about the ACC complaint, about the cut wires, about the video evidence of theft. He sat back. Jesus. There's more, I said. I think I can prove she's not even legally president. His eyebrows went up. How? I need to check the original covenants, the ones from 1987, not the amended version she distributed. You still have your purchase documents from when you bought your house? Attic, somewhere. Find them. I'll do the same. And Jeffrey, don't tell anyone we talked. He nodded, left $40 on the table for a $12 breakfast. I went home and climbed into my attic, dug through boxes of paperwork, mortgage docs, title insurance, inspection reports. Found it at the bottom. The original recorded CC and Rs, 140 pages of thick linen paper, county clerk's embossed seal you could feel with your fingertips. Flip to section 12, board governance. HOA president shall serve a maximum of 2 consecutive terms. A third term requires approval by 75% of homeowners via secret ballot conducted by an independent third party. Vivian was in her 3rd term. I pulled up the meeting minutes from January 2024, her re-election. The vote happened at 4 p.m. on a Tuesday. 22 of 220 homeowners attended. Vote tally, 18-4 in favor. Simple math. 18 votes out of 220 homeowners is 8.1%. She needed 75%. She got 8%. Every decision she'd made since January, every fine, every contract, every vote, was legally void. She'd been operating as an illegitimate president for 11 months, and I had the proof. I sat in my garage at 2 a.m., the original CC and Rs open on my workbench, and I laughed. Not a bitter laugh, a genuine, relieved, holy shit, this changes everything laugh. Because I'd been fighting the wrong battle. I'd been trying to prove theft, prove embezzlement, prove corruption, all of which were true, all of which were hard to prosecute. But this was simple contract law, black and white, no interpretation required. Vivian Cutler wasn't the president. She'd never been the president, not legally, not since January, which meant every fine she'd issued, every vendor she'd hired, every covenant interpretation she'd made, all of it was void, including the $2,500 architectural review fee she'd tried to extort from me, including the $1,000 surveillance fine, including tomorrow's vote on the solar assessment. I called attorney Paulson, the lawyer I'd consulted back when this started, the one with the $15,000 retainer I couldn't afford. Left a voicemail. Found something. Call me. He called at 7 a.m. I explained the term limit violation, the invalid election, the 8% approval versus the required 75%. Silence on the line for 10 seconds. You're absolutely certain about that math, he finally said. I'm an engineer. Math is the only thing I'm certain about. I'll take this pro bono. What? Cases like this, HOA board exceeding authority, clear covenant violation, precedent-setting potential. This is how we fix broken systems. I'll draft the legal brief today. We'll file an emergency injunction to halt any votes or financial decisions until a proper election is held. And Garrett, we're going to win. That afternoon, I met with Morton, Candace, and Jeffrey in my garage. Showed them everything. The original covenant, the election records, the math. Jeffrey actually whistled. She's been an imposter for almost a year. More than that, Candace said, reading ahead in the document. Look at section 14. Any contract signed by an unauthorized board member can be voided and reimbursed by the signing party. English, Morton said. She's personally liable for every dollar she spent illegally, every payment to Bohannon, every fake invoice. If we prove she wasn't legally president, she has to pay it all back. $240,000, maybe more. Vivian Cutler, who drove a Tesla, wore designer blazers, and lived in a house with a surgeon's income, was about to lose everything. What's our move? Morton asked. We force a new election, I said. Arizona HOA statute says any homeowner can petition for emergency elections if they can demonstrate board malfeasance. We present the covenant violation at a public forum. Let the neighborhood decide. She'll fight, Jeffrey said. Let her. She's been ruling by intimidation because people don't know their rights. Time to educate them. Candace was already typing on her laptop. I'll draft a neighborhood newsletter. Know Your Rights, HOA Covenant Review Workshop. We'll schedule it for the same night as her solar assessment vote. Free pizza, free legal advice from Paulson, free copies of the original covenants. I'll hand-deliver invitations, Morton said. 220 homes. I'll talk to every retiree personally. They trust me. Knowledge nugget. CC&Rs, covenants, conditions, and restrictions, are binding contracts, and like any contract, they're only valid if the signing parties have authority. Always verify your HOA board followed proper election procedures. Check term limits, check vote requirements. Most HOA boards operate illegally for years because nobody bothers to read the original documents. The county recorder's office keeps copies of every CC and R ever filed. Get the original, not the amended version your board hands out. We had 14 days until Vivian's vote. 14 days to organize a neighborhood, expose a fraud, and take back our community. But first, I had one more piece of business to handle. I sent Vivian an email. Subject line, Solar Equity Assessment. Body text. Per your interpretation of Covenant 19B, I acknowledge community shared infrastructure. My inverter outlet remains accessible for emergency use. No hard feelings. Garrett. I was giving her permission, with witnesses, in writing, because the trap was set. The cameras were rolling, and the voltage regulator I'd installed that afternoon would give her exactly what she wanted. Maximum power. She took the bait in 4 hours. Text message to her husband, intercepted by the phone company subpoena Paulson had already filed. The idiot caved. Free charging resumes tonight. Here's what most people don't understand about solar inverters. They're designed with safety features to protect the grid. If voltage gets unstable, the inverter shuts down automatically. It's called anti-islanding protection, required by the National Electrical Code. But there's another mode, island mode, off-grid mode. In island mode, the inverter doesn't care about the grid. It maintains voltage for whatever's plugged in, even if the load is erratic. And here's the beautiful part. If something draws too much power too fast, the inverter compensates by spiking output. It's like a fire hose. Kink it, and pressure builds until something gives. I called Javier at 8 a.m. How fast can you install a secondary inverter on a dedicated circuit? 2 days. Why? I need an off-grid system that bypasses my main panel, connects only to that external outlet, with a programmable relay that switches to island mode when it detects unauthorized draw. Silence. Javier? Bro, are you building what I think you're building? I'm building a safety feature. If someone overloads my system, the inverter protects itself by regulating voltage. If their equipment can't handle normal grid variance, that's a vehicle design flaw. He laughed. That's not a trap. That's engineering. I bought a used Solar Edge inverter from a forum meetup. $1,200 cash, no questions. Javier showed up the next morning with conduit, breakers, and a relay programmer. We spent 2 days creating a separate circuit. Solar panels to secondary inverter to programmable relay to external outlet. Nothing connected to my house. The relay logic was simple. If current draw exceeds 30 amps and occurs between 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., then switch to island mode plus maximum output. In island mode, the inverter would maintain 240 volts. But I added a microcontroller that introduced tiny oscillations. Nothing dangerous, just enough to make the power dirty. The inverter would spike to compensate. 270 volts, 280, sometimes 290, all within NEC limits. Article 690 allows up to 300 volts for solar installations. I called my buddy Tyrell at the utility company, explained the setup. You're creating an unstable microgrid, he said. Voltage fluctuation within 10% is normal variance. If someone's device can't handle that, not your problem. Legally? Post-warning signage. Stay under 300 volts. You're covered. Same principle as beware of dog. I mounted a yellow sign on the outlet. Caution. Unregulated solar output. Voltage unstable. Use at own risk. Photographed it from 6 angles. Time-stamped. Emailed copies to attorney Paulson. Then I installed proper cameras, 4K security with infrared, audio recording, weatherproof housing. One aimed at the outlet and sign, one at the gate entrance, both recording to encrypted cloud storage. Knowledge nugget. NEC Article 690 covers solar systems. Key point. You can configure your system to protect itself from unauthorized loads. Voltage regulation within code limits is your right. Stay under 300 volts, post warnings, don't create deliberate hazards. You're legally protected. It's the same as having a guard dog. I tested it that night with a space heater. 30 seconds of normal power, then the relay clicked. The heater flickered, voltage oscillating between 250 and 285. 2 minutes later, its internal breaker tripped. Perfect. While Javier and I worked, Candace organized the neighborhood workshop. Professional flyers. Know your rights. Understanding your HOA covenants. Free pizza. Free legal advice. Tuesday, 6 p.m. Morton hand-delivered all 220 homes. Took 3 days. His pitch. Did you know our HOA president might not be legally elected? Come find out. There's pepperoni. Jeffrey worked inside. Secretly recorded board meetings. Arizona's one-party consent. He caught Vivienne. Garrett Paulson thinks rules don't apply. We need to make an example. RSVPs poured in. 140 by day 3. 180 by day 7. Day 10. 207 out of 220 households. 94% turnout. Unprecedented. Vivienne had no idea the battlefield had shifted. The night before the workshop, I sat in my garage looking at Miriam's photo. Our anniversary in Sedona, her smile against red rocks. She'd been a paralegal, taught me about documentation, patience. Paper trail beats anger every time. Honey, I told the photo, I'm about to create the best paper trail of my life. The system was armed. Cameras live, neighborhood mobilized. All I needed was for Vivienne to make one more mistake. 5 days before the workshop, Vivienne panicked. Jeffrey texted from an emergency board meeting. She knows something's happening. Called another vote. The notice went out that night. Certified mail to all households. Emergency special assessment. $500 per home, legal defense fund. Mail-in ballots due in 72 hours. She was trying to raise $110,000 to bury me in lawyer fees. I checked Arizona HOA statute. Emergency assessments require 10-day notice, plus in-person meeting option. She'd violated procedure again. I didn't call her out. Just saved the notice, added it to evidence, sent a copy to Paulson. Then the smear campaign started. Next door post. Safety alert. Resident Garrett Paulson under investigation for unsafe electrical modifications. County inspector scheduled. Keep children away from 4782 Saguaro Drive. Completely false. No inspection. No investigation. Character assassination. 3 neighbors canceled repair requests. Dr. Brandt told his golf buddies my panels were frying the neighborhood transformer. Also fabricated. But while Vivienne destroyed my reputation, she kept stealing my power. Night 1 after trap installation, 11:30 p.m., motion alert. I pulled up the camera feed, white Tesla in my side yard. She plugged in. 30 seconds of normal charging, then my relay clicked. Metallic snap through the audio. Her dashboard lit up. Charging fault. Overvoltage detected. She sat up, confused. Unplugged. Checked with her multimeter. 242 volts. Normal. Because the system resets when you disconnect. She plugged back in. Same fault 30 seconds later. Tried 4 more times before giving up. Night 2. Dr. Brandt came alone in his BMW i8. Same result. Charging error after 30 seconds. His voicemail to Vivienne, captured on audio. Your pet engineer's solar setup is garbage, Viv. I'm not risking my $140,000 car on his janky outlet. They were turning on each other. Night 3. Vivienne brought an electrician. I was deliberately at Home Depot. My cameras caught everything. She used her HOA key, entered without permission. The electrician, Chuck, per his van, spent 40 minutes testing. Finally told her, "Ma'am, this system is code compliant. Off-grid solar means variable voltage. Legal, but inconsistent. Like a construction generator. Why are you using his power anyway? Community shared resource. That's not how solar works, but okay." His invoice, copy blew into my yard, was $320 for diagnostic, charged to HOA account. The report concluded, system meets NEC Article 690, voltage fluctuation within acceptable parameters, warning signage posted. She paid $320 to prove I was following the law. Jeffrey reported. Vivienne was rattled, kept stepping out to argue on her phone. Rhonda asked him privately. Is it true Vivian's been using Garrett's electricity? 48 hours before the workshop, Vivian came to my house. 7 a.m. I was watering my front yard. Her Tesla pulled up. She got out with her clipboard. Withdraw your ACC complaint. Cancel the workshop, or I'm referring your system to county code enforcement. You already claimed you did that on Nextdoor. Was that a lie? This time I mean it. I turned to face her. Does your Tesla still have charging issues? Her face flashed anger, forced smile. My vehicle is none of your concern. Just like my electricity is none of yours. 5 seconds of silence. Then she turned, walked back, and reversed out. Straight into my mailbox. Metal posts snapped at the base, sent the Pueblo-style box skidding across the street. She didn't stop, just kept backing up and drove away. I took photos, measured tire marks, called the sheriff for a hit-and-run report. Deputy Ochoa responded. Same officer from before. Looked at the mailbox, shook his head. She really doesn't like you. It's mutual. He gave me incident report number 2024-MC-8837. You going to that workshop tomorrow? I'm hosting it. Good. Keep doing what you're doing. He lowered his voice. Off record? I live in an HOA. They cited me for parking my patrol car in my driveway. Said it lowered property values. You fight it? Paid the fine. Didn't have energy. But you do. Make it count. After he left, I stood looking at the broken mailbox, skid marks, the whole scene, smell of creosote bushes, distant highway traffic. One more day, one more night, then showtime. The night before the workshop, Vivian broke. Jeffrey texted at 9:47 p.m. Emergency meeting just ended. She's desperate. Talking about proving your system is dangerous before tomorrow. Watch yourself. I was already watching. In my garage, with Morton and Candace, laptop showing 4 camera feeds. Cold pizza nobody touched. Air smelled like pepperoni and motor oil. 10:43 p.m. Motion alert. 2 vehicles. Vivian's Tesla, Brant's BMW. Both got out. Brant carried something large. We zoomed in. Industrial space heater. Construction site type. 2,400 watts. What the hell? Morton muttered. They're going to overload his system, Candace said. Force a failure. Create evidence. They approached the outlet. Audio came through clear. Brant. This is insane. If someone sees us. Vivian. Nobody's awake. We plug this in, his system shorts. I photograph damage. Tomorrow, I present evidence it's a fire hazard. Workshop canceled. He loses credibility. Brant. And if it catches fire? Vivian. Then he's liable, and we're heroes. I reach for my phone. Morton grabbed my wrist. Wait. Let your system work. On screen, Vivian plugged in the extension cord. Brant connected the heater. Maximum setting. My inverter kicked in. Normal voltage 30 seconds. Heater coils glowed orange. Then the relay clicked. Island mode. Maximum output. Voltage spiked. 250, 270, 285. The heater's electronics couldn't handle it. Its control board fried with a pop like a champagne cork. Sparks from the back vent. Visible on night vision. Vivian jumped back, dropped her clipboard. Brant yelled, Jesus, this thing is a fire hazard. But the heater's fuse blew, cut power, protected the device. Textbook safety feature. Brant, this is your plan. I'm not getting sued. Vivian, we'll say his system destroyed our property. Brant, we're on his property at midnight. Are you listening to yourself? Full voice argument, every word captured. I called Sheriff non-emergency. Garrett Paulson, 4782 Saguaro Drive. Trespassers attempting to vandalize my electrical system. I have video. Deputies en route. 12 minutes. Morton grinned. Best TV in 30 years. Candace screen recorded on her phone. Nobody'll believe this without footage. 11 minutes. 2 vehicles. Ochoa and Deputy Martinez. Spotlights lit my yard. Ochoa. Step away. Who owns this property? I walked out. I do. Vivian straightened. I'm HOA president. Emergency access. Ochoa. At 11 p.m. with a space heater? I handed him my tablet, cued to the last 20 minutes. He watched. Martinez watched over his shoulder. Martinez whistled. That's bold. Ochoa. Dr. Cutler, Mrs. Cutler, you're on private property without consent, attempting to damage equipment, criminal trespass, and attempted vandalism. Brant, we're leaving. Don't contact us without our attorney. He grabbed Vivian's arm, pulled her toward vehicles. Vivian, you can't. Brant, shut up, Viv. They left. Fast. Gravel sprayed from tires. Ochoa, press charges tonight? Not yet. I want this on record. Report number, statements, video logged. I'll decide after consulting my attorney tomorrow. He handed me report number 2024-MC-8841. If they return, call 911. As deputies left, Ochoa turned back. Off record? I live in an HOA. Keep going. Sunlight's the best disinfectant. Martinez added, make sure that workshop's well attended. After they left, I stood with Morton and Candace. Smell of burnt plastic lingered. Tomorrow's going to be interesting, Candace said. Morton clapped my shoulder. Son, tomorrow's going to be legendary. I texted Paulson. Have sheriff report plus vandalism video. How's this change tomorrow? Reply in 2 minutes. Changes everything. Bringing a prosecutor friend as observer. Might be criminal fraud now. A neighbor texted. Saw Cutler screaming in their driveway. She threw something at his car. You okay? Another. U-Haul at Cutler's house. Moving? Cracks showing. Perfect facade crumbling. I went to bed at 1 a.m. Didn't sleep. Kept thinking about Miriam, how she would have handled this. She would have said I was reckless. She also would have helped organize evidence. 6 a.m. I was up. Showered. Coffee. Loaded truck with boxes, timeline charts, financial records, video stills, covenant copies. Today, 220 households would learn truth, and Vivian Cutler would learn what happens when you steal from an engineer. Sagebrush Estates Community Center, 6 p.m. 214 homeowners packed into a room built for 80. People sat on folding chairs, stood against walls, spilled into the hallway. The air smelled like pepperoni pizza in anticipation. That electric tension before something big happens. I'd set up at the front, projector, evidence binders stacked on the table, Attorney Paulson at my side. Unexpected guests in the back, a CC investigator, formal capacity, KPNX news crew, Candace had tipped them. Deputy Ochoa, off duty, personal interest. Vivian arrived 10 minutes late, no doctor. Brant. He'd filed for divorce that morning, according to Jeffrey's golf buddy who worked at the courthouse. She wore a full business suit like armor, forced smile, brought Tammy and Rhonda. They sat in back. She tried to take the podium. As president, I'll be moderating. Morton stood, 78 years old, voice like gravel. Point of order. Under original CC and RS, workshops are homeowner-led. President observes only. That's not current procedure, Candace stood. Show us where it changed. We'll wait. Vivian's jaw worked. She sat down, face red. I started simple. 18 months ago, I lost my wife. This community was supposed to be my safe place. Instead, I've been fined, stolen from, and vandalized, all by the person elected to serve us. The room went silent. I clicked the projector. Timeline appeared. 3 weeks ago, President Cutler issued a $2,500 fine for solar panels installed 2 years ago with full permits. When I challenged her, she cut my microphone at a board meeting. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Then she started stealing my electricity. Next slide. Side-by-side comparison of 1987 CC and Rs versus 2019 amended version. Red highlights on removed term limits, altered voting procedures. The original covenants, the ones filed with the county, say HOA president serves maximum 2 consecutive terms. A third term requires 75% homeowner approval via secret ballot. I pulled up meeting minutes from January 2024. President Cutler held her term extension vote at 4 p.m. on a Tuesday. 22 of 220 homeowners attended. Vote was 18-4. Attorney Paulson stepped forward. 18 votes out of 220 is 8.1%, not 75%. Every decision Mrs. Cutler has made since January is legally void. The room exploded, voices overlapping. Someone shouted, "She fined me $600 this year." I raised my hand, waited for quiet. There's more. Next slide. Financial spreadsheet. Bohannonscape's invoices, dates, amounts. Over 18 months, President Cutler paid $184,000 to her brother's landscaping company. Our landscaping looks worse than ever. I showed photos, dead junipers, cracked pavement, broken sprinklers. Her brother owns land next to our community. He's building a commercial solar farm. County records show President Cutler wrote a support letter on HOA letterhead, calling it aligned with our renewable energy goals. Jeffrey stood. I voted to approve those contracts. She told us Bohannon was licensed and bonded. He's not. His license expired in 2022. She lied to the board. Vivian jumped up. This is a witch hunt. Garrett's mentally unstable since his wife died. Everyone knows he's been... Morton slammed his hand on a table. Enough! You don't get to weaponize grief. Furthermore, Candace said, standing, I've documented 47 fines you've issued in 3 years. 94% targeted people who disagreed with you. That's not governance, that's revenge. I clicked to the next slide, the one I'd been saving. Video compilation, night vision footage of Vivian's Tesla in my driveway. Timestamps, voltage logs, audio. Your system is community resource under Covenant 19B. The crowd gasped. Someone yelled, She's stealing his power? Final clip, 2 nights ago. Space heater incident. Sparks visible. Brandt's voice clear. This is your plan. I'm not getting sued. Vivian's voice. We'll say his system destroyed our property. The room went dead silent. Then chaos. Shouting. People standing. Agnes, 81, never attended a meeting, was crying. I've been terrified of her for 2 years. Assistant DA Linda Voss stood. For the record, I'm here personally, but Mrs. Cutler, this evidence suggests wire fraud, embezzlement, and utility theft. The ACC investigator will determine regulatory violations. If criminal referral occurs, my office will review. Vivian went pale, sat down hard. I moved to final slide. I moved to dissolve the current board, hold emergency elections per 1987 CC and RS, and freeze HOA funds pending independent audit. Morton seconded. Show of hands, 209-4, 3 against. Tammy and Rhonda had already left. Vivian and one loyal friend voted no. Vivian grabbed her purse, rushed for the door, tripped over a chair, genuinely accidental, scattered papers. Someone photographed them before she scooped them up. Draft email to her attorney about asset protection strategies. She ran to her Tesla. In her panic, backed into Morton's truck. Second hit and run. Morton, that's twice. Someone stop her. Ochoa, deadpan. I'll follow up with a report. After she left, spontaneous applause. Agnes approached me. I've been terrified for 2 years. Thank you. Carlos, young father. We were planning to sell. Maybe we'll stay. Attend every meeting. Vote in every election. If 200+ people had shown up 3 years ago, Vivian never would have seized power. Democracy requires participation, even boring neighborhood stuff. The taste of victory wasn't sweet. It was relief, like finally setting down something heavy. Emergency board elections held 5 days post-workshop. New president, Morton, unanimous. Board members, Candace, Jeffrey, Carlos, Agnes. First action, suspended all pending fines, froze vendor contracts pending audit. Vivian's consequences came fast. A CC investigation concluded. $12,000 fine for utility theft. $1,847 restitution to me for electricity plus battery degradation. Criminal investigation opened for wire fraud and embezzlement. Dr. Brandt's divorce filing became public. Neighbors confirmed moving trucks at their house. Her Tesla? Repossessed. 3 missed payments. She'd been broke despite the surgeon husband's income. She moved out within 30 days. Independent audit revealed $240,000 misappropriated over 3 years. Insurance covered $180,000 through board liability policy. Lawsuit against Trent Bohannon recovered $40,000. Remaining $20,000 shortfall covered by special assessment. $91 per home. Community voted yes, grateful for transparency. But the real win wasn't financial. Local news story aired. Solar homeowner exposes HOA corruption. Went semi-viral, 340,000 YouTube views. I received 1,200 plus emails from other HOA victims. People trapped in similar situations, no idea how to fight back. So I started a blog, the HOA Watchdog, practical advice for fighting abuse. First post, how I built a legal trap, and you can too. Included electrical schematics, legal templates, evidence collection guide. Deputy Ochoa became a regular coffee buddy. Shared his own HOA story, cited for parking his patrol car in his driveway. I helped him file a counterclaim using selective enforcement statutes. He won. Ochoa introduced me to a state representative working on HOA reform legislation. They invited me to testify. Arizona legislature passed the HOA Accountability Act. Key provisions: mandatory financial audits every 2 years, term limits enforceable by law, homeowner right to sue for selective enforcement. The bill cited my case in the preamble. I testified at the Capitol, brought Morton and Candace, packed hearing room. The representative thanked us. You showed what's possible when people fight back. Meanwhile, the new board launched the project Vivian had blocked, Sagebrush Solar Co-op. 120 panels on the community center roof. Excess power sold back to grid. Credits applied to homeowners' bills. Projected savings: $180 per home annually. I volunteered as technical advisor, unpaid. I established the Miriam Paulson Memorial Scholarship, $5,000 per year for a local student pursuing electrical engineering. First recipient, Javier's daughter, Sophia. Full circle moment that made me cry at the awards ceremony. My daughter Shayna visited for Christmas, found me laughing in my workshop surrounded by solar projects. Mom would be proud, she said. You didn't just fight back, you built something better. She was right. The blog helped 300 plus people nationwide fight their HOAs. The scholarship would run for 20 years minimum. The co-op saved families real money. Vivian's criminal trial. Pled guilty to misdemeanor fraud. 200 hours community service, 3 years probation. Her community service? Teaching financial literacy at the senior center. The judge said, "You abused trust. The real victims are your neighbors who believed in you." I attended sentencing, didn't speak, just observed. Afterward, Ochoa asked, "How's it feel?" Honestly, empty. I wanted justice, got it. But it doesn't bring Miriam back, doesn't undo the stress. So what now? I keep building, keep helping people. That's what she would have wanted. Community summer barbecue at the pool. First social event in 3 years. Previous board never funded them. I'm flipping burgers. Morton's telling war stories. Candace organizing kids' games. New neighbors, young couple, approach me. We heard this HOA had drama. Seems great now. Agnes overhears, grins. Oh, honey, let me tell you about the woman who tried to steal our sunshine. Camera pans to my house. New solar panel installation in progress. Inverter outlet clearly labeled. Authorized use only. Violators will be educated.
You know what got Vivian in the end? Not the Tesla, not the $340 in stolen power. It was that she never bothered to read page 12 of the 1987 Covenant. Garage 54 widow, electrical engineer who just wanted to live quiet. But Vivian smiled at him at 11 p.m. and said, "Prove it," while draining his battery bank. So he did it. Turns out she needed 75% of homeowners to approve her third term. She got 8%, been operating illegally for 11 months. Every fine she issued forced every contract with her brother, Frank Landscaping Company, fraudulent, $184,000 in embezzlement, only because nobody read the paperwork. Here's my questions. Do you have your original CCNRs, not the version your boss gave you? The one filed with the county? Because I guarantee half the HOA boards in this country are breaking rules nobody checking. If this made you think twice about your HOA, hit like. Got your own board Arnold story. Comment. And subscribe next week about a landlord who learned you don't change locks on the wrong person. Small power, small people, big mistake.